All right, today we're jumping into something truly special, the very first day from Giovanni Boccaccio's Decameron. We're talking about a collection of stories that's just as wild, just as funny, and just as shocking today as it was 700 years ago. And it's all about one thing, the incredible power of a well-told story. Get a load of this. Paint generosity. Just imagine someone telling you to do that. How would you even start? This strange, amazing command comes from one of the stories, and believe it or not, it's a single sentence that completely turns a greedy man's life around. Right there, you get a hint of the magic that Boccaccio saw in language itself. And that's really what we're digging into here. Boccaccio is absolutely fascinated with how words build our reality. He shows us time and again how a single witty remark can stop a powerful king dead in his tracks, and how a complete, total lie, if it's told with enough conviction, can make the world believe a horrible sinner is actually a holy saint. Now, you should think of Day One less like just a collection of stories and more like a musical overture. See, the storyteller in charge of this day decides not to set a theme. That means the other 9 storytellers can tell any kind of story they want. And the result? It's the perfect introduction to every major idea Boccaccio is going to explore for the next 90 tales. And what a preview it is. I mean, in just these first 10 stories, you get a taste of the whole shebang. We've got corrupt monks, we've got brilliant women outsmarting powerful men, we've got kings wrestling with justice, and we have this really deep look at how different religions can or can't get along. It's all laid out for us right from the get-go. So, how does Boccaccio make this world pop off the page? Well, he's got these 2 amazing comedic engines that he uses to drive pretty much all the action and the humor. Let's open up his toolkit and see what's inside. Okay, first up is the motto. And no, we're not talking about a slogan on a t-shirt. For Boccaccio, a motto is like a verbal dagger. It's that perfectly timed, razor-sharp comeback that just slices through all the nonsense and completely changes the game in a single breath. And this story is the perfect example of the motto at work. So a king decides to pay a visit to this beautiful marchioness while her husband's away. His intentions, well, they aren't exactly honorable. She picks up on this, right? So what does she do? She serves him a feast where every single dish is made of chicken. When the king finally asks what's up with all the chicken, her witty reply basically puts him in his place so elegantly that he has no choice but to back off. That, right there, is the power of a motto. Now, Boccaccio's second favorite tool is the beffa. If the motto is a quick jab, the beffa is the long con. This isn't just a one-liner, it's a huge, elaborate practical joke or a massive deception. The beffa is where Boccaccio's characters really get to show off just how clever and manipulative they can be. And you won't believe this, but the very first story of the entire Decameron is the ultimate beffa. We meet a guy, Sir Ciappelletto, who is described as maybe the most evil person who ever lived. He's on his deathbed, and to save his friends from trouble, he decides to give a final confession to a friar. But he invents this life of such insane, over-the-top holiness that the friar is totally fooled. Ciappelletto dies, and he's immediately declared a saint. People start praying to him. It's bold, it's hilarious, and honestly, it's pretty disturbing. So you see, whether it's a quick motto or a complicated beffa, both of these tools are really celebrating one single quality above all else: ingenio. It's this fantastic Italian word for cleverness, for wit, for resourcefulness. For Boccaccio, human intelligence is the highest virtue there is. Okay, so now let's see what happens when Boccaccio takes these powerful tools of wit and deception and points them at his riskiest target, the single most powerful institution of his time, the church. Now, this is a really important point, so let's be clear. Boccaccio was not an atheist. He actually got more religious as he got older. His satire is not aimed at God or at faith. It's aimed squarely at human hypocrisy, at the monks, the abbots, the priests who say one thing and do the complete opposite. This little story is just a brutally perfect example. A young monk gets caught with a woman, red-handed. He's dragged in front of his abbot, expecting the worst. But the monk is clever. He manages to maneuver the situation to expose the fact that the abbot is guilty of the exact same sin. So what can the abbot do? His hypocrisy is laid bare. He quietly drops the charges, lets the monk go, and they both just carry on. It's such a sharp and cynical critique. This might be the most brilliant, most mind-bending piece of logic in the entire book. It comes from a story about a Jewish man named Abraham who's thinking about converting to Christianity. His friend is terrified for him to visit Rome because he knows the corruption there is so bad it'll scare him off for sure. But Abraham comes back and decides to convert anyway, and this is his reason. The fact that the church is so wicked and hasn't collapsed is, paradoxically, the ultimate proof that it must be divine. It's just an absolutely incredible intellectual backflip. And Boccaccio wasn't working in a vacuum here. If you look over at his contemporary in England, Geoffrey Chaucer, you see the same fascination in the Canterbury Tales. Chaucer gives us the partner, a total fraud who straight up admits he only preaches to get rich. And yet, he tells one of the most powerful moral stories in the entire collection. Both of these writers understood that the gap between who we are and who we pretend to be is where the best stories live. So when you get past all the clever jokes and the takedowns of hypocrites, what is Boccaccio really trying to ask us? Well, it turns out his questions from the 14th century about truth, about faith, and about tolerance, they're still incredibly relevant right now. This question is right at the center of the third tale of Day 1, and it might be Boccaccio's most famous argument for religious tolerance. A powerful sultan asks a wise Jewish man a loaded question. Which of the three great religions, Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, is the true one? But instead of a direct answer, the man tells him this story, this parable. So the father in the story, he can't bring himself to choose just one son. So he secretly has 2 perfect copies of his precious ring made. He gives one ring to each of his 3 sons, privately. When the father dies, all 3 sons come forward, each one claiming to be the true heir, each one holding a ring. But because the rings are absolutely identical, no one can ever prove which one is the original. The question of who the true heir is left unsettled. Forever. Now, this is the really crucial part. Boccaccio is not saying that all religions are the same, or that they're all equally true. His point is actually way more subtle, and I think a lot more profound. He's saying that the question of which faith is the real one, given by God the Father, well, that's a question that is simply beyond our human ability to settle. And that leads us to the final, challenging question Boccaccio leaves us with at the end of Day 1. If we accept that we can't prove these ultimate questions with absolute certainty, then how are we supposed to act? Is the right response to cling to our own beliefs with rigid dogmatism, or is it to approach each other with a little bit of humility? It was a radical question to ask in the 14th century, and it's one that feels just as urgent today.